Hello, I'm Crafty Patty, and thank you so much for coming to join me to make some bread cloth bags together. And as you can see, I've got these 2 loaves in front of me just waiting to get put into a lovely, beautiful bag. And I can just smell it. It smells so good. But before we get started on sewing up those bags, I really want to share just that little bit of history with you because I think you'll find it interesting and it's important. So, before plastic bags took over our kitchens, bread was stored in such simple, beautiful ways. People used to wrap their loaves in cloth. That's why I want to make the cloth bags. They used to tuck them into those wooden bread boxes, and I remember my grandmother having one on her counter. And where did those go? I think maybe some people still have them, I don't know. Or store them in ceramic crocks. And it wasn't just for looks. These natural materials actually help keep the bread fresh. Now, plastic bread bags didn't really show up until the 1940s after World War II, when plastic became more common in households. And by the 1950s, bread in plastic bags with twist ties had become the norm. Super convenient, sure, but not great for the bread or our planet. And here's a little surprise for you. How many of you actually store your bread in the fridge? Well, actually, it makes it go stale faster. Cold temperatures cause the starch in bread to harden more quickly. It's a process called retrogradation. I never heard the word before, but I looked it up so I could tell you. Basically, the fridge zaps the freshness. What really works best is keeping your bread at room temperature wrapped in a breathable cloth, just like they used to do. And so that's why I wanted to make the bread bags. So if you're worried about mold or want to keep it longer, freezing, of course, is the better option. And then you might want to slice it in slices like I've done here, and then you will have to use that plastic bag and twist tie. But then you can take off the amount that you want. I'm excited to show you how to make your own cloth bread bags today, because they help the bread breathe, keeping the crust crusty and the inside nice and soft. They're reusable, they look lovely on the counter, and they're a small way to bring a bit of tradition back into our lives. I know I will enjoy using the bread bag on the counter, but it also makes a beautiful gift if you want to do some gift giving with a lovely loaf of bread. Now, I don't make my sourdough bread, but I know my daughters do, and they give out their bread all the time, and they're always looking for a lovely way to present it. Now, as for fabric, natural fibers are definitely the way to go. Cotton works great, and especially if it's a tightly woven fabric. Linen or a linen rayon blend is even better because linen is naturally breathable and actually has antibacterial properties, which I did not know. So it's perfect for keeping bread fresh. So just avoid any synthetic fabrics like polyesters or anything that's got a plastic coating. So grab your sewing machine and let's make a few beautiful reusable bread bags for your sourdough and other bread items. And I think the planet will thank you too. Okay, it might sound a bit confusing because I'm old school. I think in inches, but when I go to my fabric store, I cut by the meter. Anyways, this fabric I bought, the linen rayon blend, is a 54-inch width, and I'll put conversions up on the screen. And I ended up cutting 0.8 of a meter. And I always pre-wash all of my fabrics, no matter whether it's cotton or whatever fabric it is. Now, these are folded so the selvages are together. I want to fold it so my raw edges are together, and I'm going to fold it so my right sides are facing together. So I'm just going to give this just a light iron, just so I can measure accurately. I'll be cutting each bag 30 inches long and 14 inches wide. So I'm just showing you my 15-inch mark here, and this is what I've got left over. So if that concerns you, you can always cut a little more than 0.8 of a meter, which is what I had cut. I'm just laying out the next fabric that I had bought because I'm really enjoying making these bread bags because I think they're just gorgeous. And I want to let you know that both of these fabrics were cut at 0.8 of a meter, but this one is a lot shorter than this one was for the amount that got cut. Whether that was the person who cut it or it shrank more, I don't know, but it's exactly the same material. But saying that, sourdough bread is all different sizes. You can make these any size you want. There's no rights or wrongs. This one will just be a little bit bigger, and this one, for this material, I'll cut it 14 for the length this way, and I'll probably cut it at maybe 13 this way, and that's totally fine. So folding it this way, that will allow me to get 3 bags across, and a little bit, tiny bit left over in case I want to make some ties for the drawstring in the matching fabric. And as you can see, I always use my quilting mat, quilting ruler, and a rotary cutter to make my cuts. I just find it easier than using scissors. I prefer not to use my selvage edges in my sewing, so I'm just going to clean this up. Now that I've got a nice straight line there, I'm just going to move this down right to the end of my mat so I can make my measurement at exactly 14 inches off my first bag. And if you want, you can always bring it up to number 28 here and cut your second bag while you're there. We're cutting at the 15-inch mark. And I'll do the same for my other 2 bags. That gives me my 3 bags, and this is what I've got left over in case I want to use that for the ties. I thought about a few different ways of doing my side seams, but being that I wanted to have the opening here for my drawstring, and on the inside I wanted it to be as clean as possible, and this type of fabric really ravels a lot, so I wanted all my seams encased. So this is what I'm going to do, and I'll show you this very easy seam to do. The first one I'll show you will have the ability to have it open on both sides, so you can do the double drawstring. And the other one will have it just so it's open on one side, so you can have a single drawstring. And being that we've already got right sides together, we can just place a few pins along the side here on both sides. And because we want to fold over our top edge for our casing, we're only going to sew up to the 2-inch mark. So just make a mark. I'm using my dry erasable, or it can wash out on the purple end. Flip it over and make the mark on this side because this is the side I'll be sewing on when I do this side. So finding our 2-inch mark, and I'm right about on it there. And if you want to use a guide, or sometimes your sewing machine will have a 1-inch guide, or if you like to use your sewing knitting gauge, that works as well, and you can see where you're at for the 1-inch mark. Once you're at your mark, we're just going to sew straight all the way down to the bottom. And now your iron will be your next best friend. This is the open edge, this is the folded bottom, and you're just going to come in here and tuck that down 1/2 inch, and we're going to press over this edge to our sewn line. So just iron that across and do the same for the other side and the other seam as well. open this up and just give a good pressing just to make sure that seam is good and open. Just pushing it down right into the middle. Just going to fold that over. And you might want to give it a little helping hand here, just in that little corner. Just poke out your little corner there. This is actually the 3 or 4-in-1 Alex Anderson tool. I use this quite a bit. It's got a seam ripper on one end, and this is the seam presser for pressing. And then on this end, you've got a stiletto. And you might find it easier actually just to open it up like so. Just offset it from your other side there. And you can come down that way as well. And that might make it easier for you as well. And I'm going to take that to the sewing machine. I'm going to start at the top here. I'm going to top stitch close to the edge. And you'll get down to about 1 inch away. We're going to pivot, come across this side, and then come up the other side all the way to the top. So making sure that your other side is out of the way, that you don't get that caught up. And now with all this fabric, I'm just sort of working it like this. So I can get as close as I can to this little corner here. And once you've got it nice and smoothed out, then you can come down as far as you can come down. And then with your presser foot up, let's pivot around, pull out all the fabric, make sure there's nothing bunched up in there. So we'll cross to the other side. My presser foot is up. I can now pivot, and we're going to come back the other side. Again, just making sure that everything is nice and neat and tidy. There's no bunching. I'm going to sew up close to the edge on the other side. Again, making sure that you're not catching anything underneath. Just bring it forward. You're coming up all the way to the top. And that makes a nice finishing for the outside as well as the inside. And do exactly the same thing on the other side. Now, if you desire, you could always come in and hand stitch the part we couldn't get down to, or the other thing you can do is just tack it right here so it doesn't tend to want to open up on you. So just pop my finger inside here, threaded some thread here, and I'll come underneath first, just on that edge. And then just grab just a little bit of the material because you don't want it to buckle and cause a little bit of a bump. So just a little bit of a catch there. That's really all you need. Bring it back through. And that's all you need, just to tack it in place. We'll just come through one more time here just to make sure it's secure with another knot. And then I will come underneath the fabric, poke it out further up, and then we'll just cut that off and we're good. We are working with a drawstring bag, and you're going to be opening and shutting this quite often. So you want to make sure that the inside casing is not going to ravel out on you. To do like a 1/4 inch seam and then bring it over again, you can do that if you want to, and that will definitely enclose all those raw edges, which is good. But then when you bring this back again, it's going to be very, very bulky. So what I've done instead, I do have a FAP quilting expression machine. And so on this one, I thought it was a really fun, cute little surprise. So when you open it up, you've got this beautiful decorative stitching in here. So that's going to be done on that very first edge where we just fold over, and that's where I did all the decorative stitching. If you don't have a decorative stitch that you can use in your machine, that's okay. You can come in and just do a zigzag as well. So using your iron again, let's just fold over 1/2 inch on both of these sides. And that little extra bit of care will really help out when you're using your drawstring, so this doesn't start raveling out on you on the inside of your casing. And just fold it down, and it'll be approximately 3/4 of an inch. You can use your guide if that helps you. And then bring it right up to your sew-on line on the other side there. If you find it hard to get your first part of your stitch started because you're going over a little bit of excess fabric there, then just bring it forward about 1/4 inch and then start there, and then you can reverse and then come forward again. So I'm just going to reverse. And then forward. And all the way across. You can use your choice of whatever you want for your drawstring. I happen to have an overabundance of macrame cord, so I'm using that. To thread your cording through, I used to always use a safety pin, but I just find it takes too long. So now I just tape my cording onto one of my circular needles, and I find that works really well. Taping it on in the same direction as the circular needle, and I'm just using some tape to tape that on, and it works really well for me. Make sure you don't pull it out of the other end there, and just pull out your other end of your circular needle and put it in the other side. So much faster than the safety pin. And then once you're through, remove your tape, pull out your circular needle, and just even up your ends so they're the same. Making sure it's totally open, and then tying a knot right at the edge of your opening here. And then taping on your second piece. And this time we'll start on this side. And you are good to go with the double drawstring. And to do your single drawstring, you're going to do your one side where you start sewing the 2 inches down, turn over your seams, but on this side you're going to start at the very top and sew your 1 inch seam. And just like before, I've done my zigzagging, but this time all the way around. Now we're folding down to our 2 inch seam line, making our casing, and then we'll make our drawstring. And this is the piece of fabric I have left over from my yardage, and I've got enough for my drawstring, so I'm going to cut it at 31 inches in length and 2 inches in width. So I'm just going to clean up these edges here. Press over both of your ends. And then on our long edges, we're going to bring it up about 1/2 inch and press all the way along. Bring the other side over to meet your other raw edge and press. And now just fold in half and press again. And now take it to the sewing machine and sew close to your edge, making sure you're catching both top and bottom, and our drawstring will be complete. Thread in your casing again, and I'm using my little famous knitting needle hack. Much faster than the safety pinks. You've got a longer area to work with. And it'll come through your seam here really nicely because you've opened those up and sewn them down, so there's no catching up on that seam, which is beautiful. And just even out your tie for both sides. And then tie your 2 ends together. And you will be complete. And that makes for a really cute little tie at the end. And then it's just a matter of cinching it up. And you can tie another little knot here if you want to secure it some more when the bread's inside, and you're good to go. And if you want to save yourself some time and you prefer not to make the coordinating tie in the same fabric, then another easy version is to pick up some what they call twill tape. And that comes in different widths. This, I believe, is 3/8 of an inch. You can get 1/2 inch. And thread that on through. There's a little bit of raveling of the twill tape, so you might want to tie a knot in the very end as well. And now I get to actually put my bread in one of my homemade bags. Oh yes, there we go. Perfect. And so now that will sit on my counter, or you can give it as a gift. I mean, that's just gorgeous. I love them. And I love the fabric choices I found. Here's some other ones I made. And as I said before, you can make them in any size you want because it's going to be for different types of bread. This is the one where my fabric was cut a bit short, so we've made some smaller ones. So that turned out beautiful as well. And look at this fabric. Isn't that fun? And that's the third one I found. And now, fabric in Canada can be a little tiny bit expensive, but I worked out, especially for linen blends, that these would cost me $4 in material to make. And then I got another great idea, and I went searching in the dollar store, and I found tea towels, really cheap, and they were linen blends and or 100% cotton. So put your notification bell on, because my next video I'm going to show you how I'm going to make really, really easy bread bags with very little sewing, and we can make some more for dirt cheap. So keep watching. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell, and bye-bye for now.